My name is Don Goldstein. I was born November 13th, 1946 at Lutheran Hospital in Omaha. My parents were Shirley and Leonard Goldstein. My grandparents, my mother's folks, were Ben and Selma Gershon. Ben came from Poland and Selma came from Lithuania. My father's parents were Isidore, or IG, and Molly Goldstein. Molly came from Russia, and my grandfather IG came from Romania. They all came to the United States around 1900, about that time. I grew up, I was born in Omaha. I grew up, when I was born, my folks had an apartment at 33rd and Dewey, and that's where I went as soon as I was born. My dad had just come home from World War II. He was stationed mostly in the Pacific, in India, and throughout the Pacific during the war. He was in the Army Air Corps. My mother worked at the Martin Bomber Plant in Bellevue and at the Farm Credit Building, I think, downtown about 19th and Farm. So Shirley worked down at the Farm Credit Building too. Like I said, our apartment was at 33rd and Dewey, and we moved a couple of years later. My sister Gail came in 1948, and about that time we moved to a duplex at 3850 Cass Street, and we lived there for a few years. I started school at Saunders Grade School on the other side of 40th Street, and was there for only 1 year. And then my folks bought a house from Millard and Sarah Krasny on 62nd Street, North 62nd Street, 505 North 62nd Street. And at the time, that was the western part of Omaha. 62nd Street wasn't even paved yet. And we moved out there, I believe it was 1951. At that time, I attended first grade at Dundee Grade School, which was kind of a schlep from 62nd Street at the time, but that was the closest grade school. And the following year, they had built Western Hills Grade School on 66th and Western, and starting in second grade, I moved over there. I was a member of the first second grade class at Western Hills. I remained at my time at Western Hills. That was kind of a great time to be growing up. That was part of the so-called bagel section of Omaha. I had lots of Jewish friends and lots of other friends too, and it was a great time, and enjoyed it very much. My grade school days, I was a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout, a member of the Western Hills troops, and I was just getting involved in my swimming career. I started out swimming at the old JCC, and just started down there and liked it so much. I went through all the swimming classes and programs and started to swim competitively when I was about 8 years old. Some of my first awards were from the old JCC, and I think I still have some of those old certificates telling me what I placed in and how I did. And so I always enjoyed that. I was at Western Hills throughout my elementary school education. It's before any of the junior highs were built, so we were there. I was there till 7th grade. And 8th grade, I moved over to Dundee School because there was no 8th grade at Western Hills. It was there that I became acquainted with a girl, Ann Kennedy, and we started an acquaintance at the time, and that was, although we were in 1st grade together, that was the first time I think we really got to know each other. During my 8th grade, I was bar mitzvahed. I had attended Talmud Torah at Beth Israel, starting whenever you start, 7 or 8. The first time I went to Talmud Torah, I remember my grandfather, I.G., who had been the building chairman of the new synagogue at Beth Israel back in the early 50s. And at the time, there was no, the Talmud Torah at Beth Israel was not part of the synagogue, but they had a house next door that they used as the Talmud Torah. So all the students were in these several rooms of this house where we had classes and everything. But I remember my grandfather making sure that I got there okay, that he literally walked me into the house at Beth Israel to make sure that I got there okay. I had my bar mitzvah at Beth Israel in 1959, and I remember my mother at the time, she was not the most observant Jewish person in the world, but she had been to many of the services at Beth Israel, and she had told Rabbi Groner that she wanted to make sure that there was some English in the service so that people didn't get lost. So at the time, I remember halfway through the service, and there had been no English in the service, and I remember the look that my mother gave Rabbi Groner, and 2 minutes later he inserted a prayer in English to accommodate her wishes. Anyway, I had my bar mitzvah there, and I remember the day before making a audio tape of my Haftorah and replaying it to my grandfather and everything, and how much he enjoyed that. 8th grade was the last 8th grade class at Dundee School, and after that, Lewis and Clark had been built, and most of the 7th and 8th grade from Dundee were going to Lewis and Clark. So I was kind of the last one at Dundee. Dundee was a great school. At the time there were 3 8th grade classes, and I had a lot of friends, and a lot of friends that still remain my friends today. Arnie Weitz and Sandy Friedman and Jeff Noddle, Larry Bapp, Shelley Perlman, Joe Ehrman, we all had a great time, and like I said, lifelong friendships made at Dundee and at Beth Israel, and Bethel students also that I became acquainted with at Dundee. After graduating from Dundee, I started at Central High in 1960. Spent 4 years at Central High. Had a wonderful experience, high school experience. I continued my swimming. Was on the swim team for 4 years. Did okay in school. Made the honor roll most of the time. Sometimes probably not, but really had a wonderful time. Lucky to be growing up in Omaha in the early 1960s. Had a good time. It's there that I started dating Ann a little more seriously, and we started dating again in my junior year, and we continued our relationship all the way until we got married. But that's probably jumping the gun a little bit. But we enjoyed going to a lot of the school dances, and she was a cheerleader at the time, and we would she would be cheering at a lot of the swim meets that I participated in, and a lot of the basketball games and football games that we always enjoyed going to. Like I said, it was a great time to be growing up, and nothing but good memories about being at Central High in the early 1960s. When it came time to, well, I should say, during those couple of years, we had a couple losses. My grandfather, Ben Gershon, passed away in 1962. And my grandfather, I.G., passed away the following year, I believe. During high school, also during the summers, I would lifeguard, or during vacations, I might work at Capital Delivery. My family had a car and truck rental business, but they also had a package delivery service. This was kind of the pre-UPS days, where packages would get delivered before the Crossroads was built, before you had all your suburban shopping malls. People would shop downtown, and rather than schlep their packages home with them, they'd have them delivered. So there was a nice business at the time, and I'd spend my weekends and vacations kind of working there, either driving a truck or sorting packages, and it was a good way to make an extra few bucks and stay busy and keep out of everybody's way and everything. In 1964, it was time to go to college. I applied to several engineering schools. I ended up going to Northwestern and majoring in industrial engineering. Ann was in the same class at Central, and she ended up going to the University of Nebraska down in Lincoln, and in the education department, she wanted to be an elementary teacher, first grade teacher. So in 1964, we parted. I went to Evanston, and Ann went to Lincoln. Like I said, I majored in industrial engineering. I was in the so-called co-op program, where after your second year of classes, you would alternate between being in school and working in your field. They would place you someplace in the area that you wanted, doing something that you envisioned working when you graduated. So mine was a 5-year program, and I spent the last 3 years alternating between school and work. I joined a fraternity there, Phi Epsilon Pi. I was a member of the fraternity when I was in school, and it was kind of difficult when I wasn't in school, when I was working, to be a member, but I maintained whatever affiliation I could. also I was lucky enough to be on the swim team at Northwestern, and I always enjoyed that, and being still remaining competitive throughout my college years. I was able to go be on the traveling squad and go see schools and places that I hadn't seen before. So, and also find out how having swum against several Olympians, how good some swimmers really are, and how big they are. And throughout our college careers, Ann and I would visit each other and maintained our relationship throughout our college careers. Ann graduated in 1968 and moved back to Omaha, and she became a first grade teacher at Edison Elementary School. Before I graduated we took a family trip to Israel where we had relatives, and this was right after the 1967 war. It was the December following. So we were able to see firsthand, right after the conflict, we saw firsthand the country, what it was, and it was our first trip to Israel, and it was a family trip, and we had relatives there, and we stayed with them, and we really enjoyed that. I graduated from Northwestern in 1969. At the time, if you weren't in school and the Vietnam War was going on, I entered the Army Reserves. I had a low draft number, and I figured that was a decent way to fulfill my obligation. So I opted for that route. So I joined a unit in Chicago, and after I graduated, I was in the reserves, and I took a job after I graduated at a plant called Automatic Electric Company in Northlake, Illinois, and I worked there for about 6 months, and I got my orders for basic training. So I went to Fort Polk, Louisiana for my basic training, and then I went to Fort Sam Houston, where they trained me as a medic. And during my time at Fort Sam Houston, I got a weekend off, and I came back to Omaha. I believe it was a Passover, and enjoyed my time here. And also at that time, Ann and I decided that we were going to get married, and this was in like April of 1970, and so we made the arrangements. We talked to my parents, we talked to her parents, and anyway, we wanted to do this as quickly as possible. So I got out of the service, out of my training in the end of June of 1970, and we got married July 5th in 1970. We got married at Ann's folks' house. We were married by Judge Troyer. One of the things that always sticks in my mind and everybody that was there was my father-in-law, Howard Kennedy, the day of the wedding, saw that the front yard wasn't as green as he wanted, so he got a can of spray paint, a green spray paint, and spray painted over all the brown spots and everything. So it was kind of a unique way to do it, but it seemed to work. So it's one of the memories we had. We took a quick honeymoon to Colorado, and we came back to Omaha. Ann taught still teaching, and I took a job as a merchandiser with Fairmont Foods, and I also started at Creighton in the evening to get my Master in Business, my MBA. So this was in 1970, and a couple of years we were and worked, and I worked and went to school at night. And in 1972, I talked to my father, and we both agreed that he would like it and I would like it. So I joined the family business in the car and truck rental business. We had the Hertz car and truck rental franchises for the area. So I went to work for my dad, and still continued my studies at Creighton at night. And in 1973, our daughter Rebecca was born on November 15th, 1973. Ann and I had an apartment at the old Park Place Apartments on 120th and William that we enjoyed our first couple of years of marriage. But then when Becca came around, we bought a house on South 91st Street, 1862 South 91st Street, where we were neighbors to Marshall and Joni Zalkin and their kids, and we were there for some time. It was a great house. It was a 3-bedroom ranch, and I remember taking my father to take a look at it, and you know, he couldn't believe you were going to spend $40,000 on a house, and we understood. We said we realized it, and we weren't going to get the kind of deal that he had gotten way back then. So anyway, we bought the house and enjoyed it for some time. Our second daughter, Deborah, was born in September of 1976, and the kids went to Sunset Hills, great school, and really enjoyed it. And after she had Becca, decided to stay home and stopped her teaching career after a couple of years, and was mostly home. She did a lot of volunteer work, but she was mostly home for the girls and to take care of them and enjoy watching them grow up. And we had nice times. Took a nice trip, our first driving trip with the girls in 1982. We took a 3-week trip to the West Coast, and we always remember good times and seeing relatives up and down the West Coast, and enjoyed that very much. The kids went to camp. They would go to Camp Thunderbird up in Bemidji, Minnesota, and they went there a couple of years each, and were counselors there later on. The girls did real well at Sunset Hills, and then we a few years later, 1983, we moved to 230 South 85th Street. We bought it from Kenny Sachs and his wife Velma. They were moving out, and it was just the right size house for us, and it was close to Swanson School. The girls were loved being at Swanson. It was right out our back door. They didn't have to go very far. They enjoyed that very much. I continued working mostly in the truck rental at our business, and was doing a lot of volunteer work. She did a lot with Identikid, and she joined the Junior League and of which she was later president, and was very active in the community, and she was a good mom to our kids. And anyway, we had a lot of great family memories. In let's see, well, we were in that house. The kids stayed at Swanson. They went to Westside Middle School. They went to Westside High. Becca got involved in the BBYO, culminating in her being the international president at the end of her high school career. Deb was very involved cheerleading, and she was a member of the swim team also. And my mother at that time was getting involved in the Soviet Jewry movement, and she was keeping very active, making a few trips at the time. My father took one trip with her to the Soviet Union, but my mother kind of did things like she wanted to. I don't know what she told my father. I don't think she told him everything. I know she didn't tell him everything. So she kind of did her own thing, and my father was very supportive. My mother would, for her trips, and when other people went to the Soviet Union, she would have supplies ready for either her to take or for anybody she knew going over there to take, that refuseniks would be able to either use or to sell. Refuseniks, after they expressed their desire to immigrate, often lost their jobs, so they were in need of funds. So my mother would accumulate goods in our garage at home, and to the point where there would be no room to park our cars inside the garage. So Shirley we had a relative that worked for Edison Brothers in St. Louis, and he would provide her with irregular jeans or discontinued jeans, and those type of goods, and she would have a number of suitcases and duffel bags, so that anybody going over to the Soviet Union or over to Russia she would provide them with a bag full of goods to give to the appropriate people. She would provide names and phone numbers and contact points, so that make it easy as possible for people to take things over and to make the contacts. At that time, also when the first refuseniks, first immigrants started to come over to the United States, our family, Ann and I, and even the kids, we were involved insofar as taking people places, picking them up from work, taking them to work, moving furniture in, moving furniture out, moving televisions. It didn't make any difference what it was. We were on call to assist, and she kept us very busy for quite some time insofar as doing a lot of the things that needed to be done. But we were happy to do it, and looking back, it was a good way for everybody, not only our family, but a lot of other families in Omaha to get involved. In about 1990, the kids were in high school or close to it. Both girls got bat mitzvahed at the old Bethel, and we had family gatherings each event, and it was good to see relatives from all over come and celebrate with us. About 1990, Ann went to work for the Chamber of Commerce and leadership development, and she started her career there and became even more involved in the community and working full time. and the girls were in high school and Deb was just starting her high school, and Becca was midway through, and so anyway, Ann got started there about first part of the 1990s. Our business at Capital Rent-A-Truck was, I enjoyed it. I always enjoyed going to work. I was in business with my cousin David and my father. My two uncles, Art and Paul, had sold the car side of the business some time ago, back in I think about 1980. So they either retired or just came in to have a place to come to. But we were out of the car rental business around 1980. But my father, David, and I ran the truck rental business. We had two locations, one at 18th and Cass and one at 94th and J. Our business, like I said, was fun. I enjoyed it. My day, I would get up and always enjoy going to work. I always seemed to find a time during the day, mostly at noon, to either play racquetball, or I still continued my swimming at the J, and I had regular games or regular workouts that I always enjoyed. The business was good. We enjoyed our relationships with our customers. We had probably 40, 50 truck lease customers, plus a very active truck rental program. During the 90s, though, we could see changes in their customer base. The small business people that we had built our business on were going away, getting replaced by local chains or national chains, and the relationships changed also. All of a sudden, we were working with managers and not business owners, and we saw that most of our business, a lot of our business was coming through our affiliation with Hertz and Penske rather than through our personal relationships that we had used to cultivate our business. So in 1998, my father had retired, and David and I sold our business to Penske Truck Leasing. We were licensees of the Penske system at the time, so the transition was seamless. My cousin David at the time decided it was time for him to retire, and he opted out and discontinued his working days. I was 50, early 50s. It was too. I felt like I was too old to learn anything new, and I was too young to retire. So I agreed to stay with the new organization for a while, kind of on a part-time basis. It was a relationship that we didn't have a contract with. I didn't sign anything. I just needed a place to go and something to do. And I don't think they expected me to stay, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I ended up staying there for about 10 years, and it was good for me. I enjoyed it, and gave me an easing into the retirement mode rather than, and I could do it on my terms rather than not work. About that, the early 2000, Ann had a kidney disease called polycystic kidneys. That it's a genetic disease, and she knew she had it, but she was still working at the chamber. But the polycystic kidney disease, your kidneys get enlarged, and over time they cease to function. So in 2002, I think probably 2001, she decided to stop her employment at the chamber. She had enjoyed her years there. She was the head of leadership Omaha for maybe 8 or 9, 10 years, and enjoyed that immensely. Anyway, in 2002, her friend Cheryl Cooper, originally Cheryl Milder, agreed to donate one of her kidneys to Ann, and in 2002, the operation was held at the Med Center, and it was a successful operation. Everything worked great. Cheryl had her kidney removed laparoscopically, and Ann was out of the hospital in a couple days. She had been on dialysis for probably 6 months to a year, and was glad to have that behind her and have the new kidney and to have it working well. And after that, she started to regain her strength, and was as active as ever insofar as getting back to her volunteer work and doing what she wanted to do. As in 2006, we were Becca and let me go back. Becca got married in 2004 to Derek Grothaus. They were introduced by mutual friends, and they lived in Chicago. Becca was working for a public relations firm, and Derek had been doing some consulting. They had their first child in October of 2006. David Grothaus was born. They lived on the north side of Chicago, and it was always fun for me to, it was fun for us to go visit, not only to go visit him, but since I'd gone to Northwestern to visit what the old stomping grounds and everything. And then Deb got married a couple of years later to Matthew Baum, and they got married in Omaha. Matt was from Baltimore, and they had been introduced by a mutual friend, I think Lauren McAllister, who Matt had worked with earlier, and Deb had known the West Side introduced him. Beatrice Baum was born in 2008, and so we had 2 grandchildren. And then in 2009, right prior to a class reunion, Ann wasn't feeling well. So she got sick every so often. You know, she took drugs for anti-rejection because of her kidney, and so we just having a bad day or two. But she didn't get better that weekend, and that Monday I took her to the emergency room at Methodist, and they took a look, and they knew she had had a transplant at the Med Center, and they couldn't determine what the cause of her illness was at the time, but they figured since she was a transplant patient that they would transfer her to the Med Center. they had done some tests at Methodist but couldn't figure out what the problem was. Then we went to the med center and they did some tests, and they called the infectious disease doctors in, and they called the transplant doctors in, and they called the kidney doctors in. And after about a week, they determined that what she had was it's called histoplasmosis, and she had a very bad case of this, and she was in intensive care, and they didn't think she'd make it, and it spread throughout her body and infected her whole body, and they weren't sure. She was in intensive care, and it was touch and go there for a while, and she ended up being in the hospital for, I think, 88 days. And as a result of the infection, it ruined her kidney, so she was back on dialysis. But it also affected a lot of her other body functions and everything. So anyway, she was there for 88 days, and like I said, her kidney was ruined, but she came home. Well, first they released her after 88 days. She went to the Blumkin home for about a month, and during that time, both of our girls were pregnant, and one of her hopes was to be able to see her 2 new grandkids. And so Anne was out of the hospital like on January 10th of 2010. And Max Baum was born January 15th, and Zoe Grothaus was born February 19th. So a couple of good things. Maybe we shouldn't have, but we flew out to Providence, Rhode Island for Max's baby naming, and we were able to do that about a week or two after she got out of the hospital. And we were able to see family, and we were able to celebrate, and able to do a lot of things that we weren't sure we were going to be able to get to do. And we had gotten to Chicago after Zoe was born, and then in April Anne had a celebration of life party at our house where the kids came in with the new grandkids, and we were all able to celebrate with a lot of Anne's friends at our house, and enjoy the good time. I had just prior to Anne getting sick, it was not bad timing, but I had stopped working, so I was able to not have to worry about working, and was able to spend whatever time I could with Anne and at the hospital during those the 88 days, and helping her over the next year recuperate. Like I said, she was on dialysis from then on, so whenever we went somewhere, we had to make arrangements to make sure that there was a location nearby where she could go through the dialysis process. And she was, doctors said that she would be a candidate for another kidney and liver transplant. Her liver was also growing larger since she had polycystic liver also, and but she would have to regain her strength after she had been released from her hospital. She had lost a lot of weight, and before they could even consider her as a candidate for the transplant. First of all, she'd have to get stronger, and second of all, you had to get all of that histoplasmosis out of your system, and that took some time. So she would be a candidate once that happened, but they didn't expect that to happen for, I believe, a year or so. So we knew it was going to be some time, but we were willing and hopeful that that would be possible. Then the following, we got through that year, and we decided, we checked with the doctors, and we said, is it possible we'd like to take a month off and go to Florida? Something just to get away from the cold and make it easier for Ann, not have to fight the winter at home and everything, because dialysis 3 times a week and the weather and everything just kind of took its toll on everybody. So in February of 2011, we rented a place. February 1st of that year, we started at, we rented a place in Marco Island in Florida. So we flew down there and rented a car, had the place, really enjoyed our time, just not worrying about anything and enjoying the weather, and again, hoping she would get stronger and feel better. And we went out for dinner Valentine's Day of 2011, and we were at the dinner table, and we were talking, and all of a sudden she started talking gibberish. We couldn't understand her. She didn't make any sense. So we made a quick thing at dinner and got back home and sat down and tried to see if things were temporary, or was going to get better, or what was happening. And she was about the same. So Marco Island, there was no, there was an emergency room, but there wasn't a hospital there. I'm sorry, there wasn't an emergency. There was a clinic there that closed at 5 o'clock. This was like 10 o'clock at night. So I drove her to the hospital in Naples, Florida, which is about 30 miles away. I took her there. We got there about midnight or something, and had her admitted. And needless to say, when you get admitted into a hospital away from home, you have to go through all the patient history and all that. So it took some time, but we finally got her admitted. I was going to spend the night, but they said, no, you can go home and, we'll come back first thing in the morning. So I went back first thing in the morning, and they had her in the, they didn't call it intensive care, they called it something else, progressive care, I think. But it was their, it was just one step below intensive care. And she had gotten worse, and it was, as it turned out, it was her liver that was not functioning. So anyway, I had to reacquaint myself with a new set of doctors, and I had them in contact with the people at the Med Center in Omaha, and tried to see what was going on. And I didn't want to stay down there unless I had to. And people going back and forth for a couple days, and couldn't decide what to do. And I got a call at night, and about the second second night in, and one of the doctors at the Naples hospital said, you realize how serious she is? And I said, well, I know how serious she was. I don't know how serious she is right this very moment. he says, well, you better come on down. So I went up to the hospital, and they told me her liver was failing, and they had a social worker come in, and they said we should talk about hospice. And I said, wait a minute, I want to check with the doctors. I want to talk to the doctors in Omaha to see what's going on. And my daughter Deb came down when she heard about that, and spent a couple days. And I was going back and forth in Marco Island, and Ann wasn't getting any better. She wasn't getting any worse, but she wasn't. Things were about the same, and I told the doctors there at Naples that I wanted to move her to Omaha, and they couldn't understand why. And I just said, well, they know her, it's home, and I'd feel better. And they agreed to it. We had to arrange for medical evacuation, and after a couple of days, we were able to move her back to Omaha, back up to Clarkson. And the doctors at Clarkson were fairly optimistic. Again, they said, well, she needs the liver, she needs the kidney. She still wasn't well, but they felt that she was well enough to come home. So that's what, after a couple of days in Omaha, they said, okay, you can take her home. And that was on a Friday. And so we brought her home, and had one of the worst nights possible. And the next day we had her readmitted down to the med center. And so anyway, as it turned out, things had just gotten worse, and the doctors had said there really isn't too much more we can do. So a couple days later, it was on March 12th, and the girls had come in because they knew it was bad, and she passed away March 12th. So anyway, after Ann passed away, I had to start refiguring out how to do things. I had a big house with a lot of stuff, and it was all mine, and I had to figure out what I was going to do. I was anxious, and I wanted to think about selling the house. I didn't need it. I preferred something smaller, more manageable. My kids didn't want me to hurry into anything, so I agreed to hold on to everything for a little bit and not jump the gun. So I stayed where I was for a while and got used to new routines, and just the big adjustment of life alone, get used to that before I started doing other things. So I kept up my usual whatever I could. I kept always spent a lot of time at the J, and I kept my workouts going, and plus all the new things you had to get used to doing by yourself. Went to visit my kids, and they'd come home, and so all in all, it was manageable. My folks were both aging, and they had They had an apartment at One Pacific Place, so they were fairly close by, and I could either talk to them or spend some time with them, or if they needed something done, take care of them. That December of 2011, I went with my daughter Deb's family to Jamaica, and having a wonderful time with their family. We had done that a couple times before in different places and really had a good time. And I got while I was down there, I got a email from my sister that my dad wasn't feeling so hot. And you know, he was 90 years old, and he wasn't feeling so hot. Well, that was kind of the normal thing. You get over it and go day to day. But so anyway, I got back home, and he was in the hospital, and wasn't getting any better. And he was at the med center, and right after the first of the year, the doctors came in to say he had MRSA, and there wasn't any cure for it. So anyway, we hemmed and hawed and tried to get an idea of the time frame of when how imminent things were, and people from visiting nurses came in and visited with us and everything, and they said the infection had started to go to his brain, and he was losing his ability to make sense and to talk and everything. So anyway, we arranged for hospice, and he had said that he wanted to go to Blumkin home. So that was on a Friday morning, and so anyway, we arranged to get him transported out to the Blumkin home, and he knew what was going on, and his doctors had talked to him, so he was aware of what was happening. And we got him to the Blumkin home, and the ambulance drivers had said, we don't think he's going to last very long. And you know, the doctors at the med center had said, well, you know, he could last a week or two, and we think he just kind of gave up. But he passed away about 2 or 3 hours after we got him into the Blumkin home. So anyway, he passed away January 6th of 2012. And my mother understood what was going on, and she took it okay. She understood, but you know, after the service and after everybody had gone home, we could see she was very lonely and everything. So my sister Kathy was still in town, and my sister Gail would come in very often, and we try and keep her as busy as possible. But she still was lonely. So that summer, about 4 or 5 months after my dad had passed away, we moved her to Pacific Springs in independent living, and she was very happy out there. She always complained there weren't more Jewish people out there, but she enjoyed the company and she enjoyed the people out there, and they provided the necessary services that were perfect for what she needed. Took care of her meals, and she was happy to socialize with everybody, and kept her busy. And we could still, we still took her out for dinner and brought her in for family occasions, or took her for rides, or did whatever she felt she wanted to do. And we were fortunate that we found a place, and that she enjoyed, and she was very content. She always bragged about her view overlooking the golf course, and she always had a big jar of red licorice at her door that everybody enjoyed. And especially on Sundays, all the residents' grandkids would look forward to come see their grandparents, because they knew they could rely on Shirley to provide some red licorice for them. So occasionally she'd get a knock on the door with one of the parents that told their kids to come and say thank you for the red licorice. So kept her very happy. And Shirley was very active. She still participated in whatever she could, and participated in events in the Jewish community. And her reputation, she was interviewed quite a lot, and she was kind of famous in her own little sphere there and everything, and she always enjoyed that. My folks had established a lectureship, or a lecture, annual lecture at the UNO that she always enjoyed being part of, and it's still going on to this day. In 2000, let's see, a couple of years later, I'm still in my house, and still would like to move. Wasn't able to move the following summer, because we were moving Shirley from her place to Pacific Springs, so I couldn't see moving both of us at the same time. It was just a little too much, so I remained in my house that I wanted to move from for another season. And after Aunt passed away, I started going to services at Bethel in the morning, and that I figured I needed a reason to get up and out in the morning, so that kind of took care of a reason to get up, and it gave me an excuse to get out. And I didn't want to just wake up in the morning and not know what I was going to do. So that really worked out great for me, and I was able to develop a routine where I'd leave the house at 6:40 every morning, and between services and breakfast with a bunch of guys, and working out at the J, and my Rotary meetings or lunches with the guys, and my errands, I'd be busy till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd get home, and that was a long day for me, and kept me busy. Go see Shirley just about every day as part of my routine, and it worked out pretty well for me. The following summer, I was finally getting ready to get rid of my house, and I could hardly wait. And one of the worst experiences was trying to get everything together and get rid of things that I didn't need anymore. I figured at one time in my house I had 7 sets of china. Ann had liked to entertain, so she had our set and her folks' set, and my mother's set, and my grandmother's set, and my kids' set. So over time, the kids at least designated what they would want, and that summer, I decided to put my house up for sale. I had an estate sale where I got rid of just about everything, and I arranged to have I go pick up my stuff, pick up, and I told each of my kids, I'll take care of one load of stuff from my old house to your house, so come and get whatever you want, and I'll have them ship it to you. So Deb took her stuff to Baltimore, Becca's stuff went to Evanston, Illinois, and my stuff was going to go to Swanson Towers. During that time, over the past year or so, I had been somewhat involved going to fundraisers and trying to be out there at least doing something. I just didn't want to stay home at night and not do anything or just look around and say what the heck's going on. So I tried to at least be out there in the community and do things. I met Andy Walensky about that time, and we kept running into each other at fundraisers and other events, and developed a relationship that we both enjoyed. And after a year or so, or almost two, I guess, of that, we decided to get married, and we got married February 27th of 2016. I ended up moving into Swanson Towers. I was renting it for a while, but when I got married, decided to buy the place and kind of make it our own. And we did some remodeling and have a nice place that we are living and enjoying each other and enjoying our lives. Over the past year or so, Andy's daughter and family have moved from Palo Alto to Omaha, and her mother has moved from California to Omaha. So all of a sudden I have extended family close by. So right now things are doing okay. Shirley passed away last year. She was 2 weeks shy of her 95th birthday. She lived a great life and very meaningful life, and I hope I'm able to pass along whatever I can the way she did to her kids and grandkids. Thank you.